So welcome to this webinar with Think Local Act Personal, and we've got folk from the Department of Health with us, Health and Social Care with us today. The first in a series of webinars about reinvigorating direct payments. We made a series of videos and created some learning resources in partnership with a group of workers down in the southwest who noticed that social work practitioners really needed to help to build their confidence and maintain their confidence in promoting direct payments. So we really wanted to support that work. We launched the videos earlier this year, and you kind of said, "That's marvelous," but it's quite difficult. We've got some things that we get stuck with in processes and working with people, promoting direct payments, continue to promote them really positively. So we created those videos, and this series of webinars is about responding to those yes buts. And the first subject is about creative support planning. I've just been introducing the session. I can see the numbers are still increasing. So we're using Zoom this afternoon, just one or two functions on Zoom, a Zoom webinar. If you just move your mouse, you'll see the navigation bar at the bottom. If you want to chat, you absolutely can provide comments in the chat. We've got a question and answer function. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask our panel today, please use a question and answer function. And if you use the chat, we'll paste them in. But please try and use a question and answer function for that. We're hoping to have about 20 minutes for questions if we manage the time well. And so please use those functions. You can express your feelings using in, I think it's in chat. There's some emojis and things. If you need closed captioning, you should be able to turn that function on that bar, which might help you with language issues that any of you may have in translation and hearing what's being said. So, with no further ado, I think we'll get moving. It's great. We've got lots of people on the call now. So, can we have the next slide? Thank you very much. Just a quick word about Think Local Act Personal. That's who we are. We're supported by the government to do that work, supporting you to move forward with personalisation. And we've got members of the National Co-Production Advisory Group. We have the next slide, please, Joe. With us, we'll do some introductions in a second. And people who draw on care and support, we aim to co-produce everything that we do. All the work that we do in supporting you to move forward with personalisation. We're going to hear now from Caroline and Jackie. We need to set a context. We like to set a context in terms of why things are important to people. And it's a joy to work with people like Caroline and Jackie every day at Think Local Act Personal. And would you like to say hello to everybody and maybe just help people understand kind of who you are, where you live, and just a little bit at the moment about the way you use a direct payment. Jackie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm Jackie Darlington and I live in Rutland, which most of you may know as the tiniest county in England. I'm the mother of a adult son, well, two sons actually, but the youngest one is 33 and he's got Down syndrome, autism, and no understandable speech. And we get direct debits to help him to participate in the community and in the wider world. And that pays for PAs, etc., to support him. I
Okay.
also get direct payment for myself because the last couple of years have seen my health rapidly decline. And and I get direct payments for myself. And what I did with Joshua, I got direct payments paid into a bank account that was open specifically for that purpose. But then I heard other people struggling with the payment card. So when they said about me getting direct payments, I thought, let's go for the payment card because I need to know what the problem is in able to say this is the problem rather than everybody having a little moan in in each corner, if
Mm.
you like.
Yeah, they're
So
not universally liked by disabled people, are they? The cards.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's basically me.
super.
And I'm sure you'll come back and ask me something
I
later
will.
on.
I've got some questions for you, Jackie. Caroline, would you like to say hello? Oh, you're on mute, Caroline.
I'm very untechy, I'm afraid. I'm Caroline Waugh. I'm from Sheffield, and I've received a direct payment for about 20 years, 18 years. Um, uh, I'm a survivor of brain injury, uh, resulting in left-sided weakness and visual impairment, and I've since broken all my four limbs. No, three actually. Only three. I'm a lightweight. Um, so yeah, so my breaking my shoulder was the most debilitating because I
Mm,
can't do things like electric blinds. I had to order on my direct payments because I couldn't close my blinds, close
mm,
my curtains. Um, but the love of my life is my trike, as Jessica will tell you. Um, I I go everywhere on my trike. Um, It enables me to have independence. I set up Sheffield Cycling for All 15 years ago, 16 years ago, which is used by so many people nowadays. I feel quite proud.
mm.
And I set that up just so I could cycle to school with my 6-year-old and my 2-year-old. Uh, and I've just been for a cycle. Oh, as one of my recent fractures was I broke my leg uh, 3 months ago. And because I wanted to be able to get out and about in the woods in the morning with my dog, who's, I'm surprised, not talking to you, um, I I kind of thought through my head, what's my routine? And my routine, I had to get my trike out of my bike cave. And it meant physically opening the doors outwards and walking around them and then lowering myself into my trike. Now, I couldn't do that uh, with my broken leg without all sorts of things walking around the doors. So I kind of thought could do with with one of those metal roller shutters that they
Mm.
have at shops and you can get on garages and things like that. And I thought, oh, I can't possibly ask for one of those. It's like a bit cheeky, even though I'd got £1,000 in my direct payment account because I have uh, a separate bank account for my direct payments. Um, I I went and sourced uh two quotes for putting electric shutter doors on my bike cave, and they came back and which meant and they came back within budget. I wouldn't have to borrow extra, and I just sent it to. In fact, I sent it to a duty social worker in
Mm.
Sheffield and said, "How about this?" And
And I think you seem to be encouraged to think creatively. I think that's the thing we really want to
yeah,
explore and hear about today. How certainly how practitioners have been able to sort of enable people to think creatively. I mean, I have to say, we know, Caroline, that's just scratching the surface in terms of what you just talked about.
yeah.
Ja Jackie, could I just ask you about what do you think? Why is being able to use your direct payment creatively important to you?
I think it gives you choice and control.
Mm.
It gives you flexibility. And, you know, Joshua may be doing a certain thing at this time, but he's going to get fed up like everybody else, and you want to change. And if you don't have that flexibility to make that choice and control, you can't do that.
Mm.
I literally wiped Joshua's timetable clean a few years ago and started ringing around, finding all the various things that was going on in the community where we could get involved and whatever else. And I, similar to Caroline, got a list, wrote it down, how much it was going to cost and everything else, and sent it off. And he came back okay. And I'm like, oh, okay, um,
Yeah,
because it's you don't know that you don't know unless you ask.
yeah, yeah. And what do you think about, which is great to hear both hearing both of you being able to with your direct payment with the funds being able to do creative things. What's your experience for others? And do you think how much more is there to do in this space? What will it take to get it right for the future?
I think there's a lot more to be done. Not everybody can think creatively. Not everybody knows about direct payments. Not
Mm,
everybody want direct payments. And even if they do, they want it so that they are told because they're afraid they're going to end up owing money.
mm,
And they need reassurance that, you can do this, you can stand on your own 2 feet. It's just like having a toddler and when they first start walking, you're
yeah,
holding their hand for a
yeah,
little bit and then you let them go and then they run rabbit riot
yeah, yeah,
around
yeah,
your house sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, there's a lot more to be done because
yeah,
people are afraid
yeah, yeah,
of using the money
yeah.
because if they use it wrong, they have to pay it back.
Which might be the subject of another webinar.
Yes.
Indeed. And Caroline, thank you, Jackie. And anything to add, Caroline? Then we'll come and hear about what Jessica's doing in practice, if that's okay.
I have, I have, I have been. I'll not be so positive because, but I,
Oh,
I
that's
am
not like
very,
you,
very.
Caroline.
I know it's not. No, I am very, very positive about direct payments because it's provided so much and supported so much. But just to say, I just want to say because um, I get comments that I'm always like positive about about everything. But one thing I got uh turned down for on direct payments, which I could still really do with, um, is uh recently. Oh well, not recently. I keep falling, breaking bones, etc., etc., but not always breaking bones. And I just need somebody to pick me up off the floor, and then I'd be fine.
Mm,
So, so I don't need to do citywide alarms or or necessarily the ambulance, which costs fortunes.
yeah,
I just need someone to pick me up off the floor, just to give me, just to support my arm whilst I use my other,
yeah.
my good arm to get up. And I
And just
tried
let
to back,
people know, Caroline, because you do really creative things around the people around you, don't you? And
mm,
engaging people around you, family members, neighbours, and things like
yeah,
that.
I do try to, yeah. I mean, I have a neighbour living in my hospital bed downstairs at the, living under the stairs. No, uh, and he supports me with all sorts. But what I'm really wanting is to buy and I think they're called manga cushions to
Right.
that inflate the firemen
Oh
use them
yeah,
and things
yeah,
like that
yeah. I know the
that can
thing you mean.
inflate you
Yeah,
to get you up.
yeah,
I really wanted. I tried to get one of those using my direct payment, and I was declined.
yeah. Well,
So, and I think
keep
that
trying.
Yeah, I think that'd save the country loads. I mean, it's just
Mm,
it saves it's short-sightedness because
mm,
just because it's coming out of a different department,
mm.
saving money in the health, well then, and not social services.
Yeah.
It's just
And we can read about some of that because you've got some really interesting blogs about that sort of thing that you've done in the past, haven't you?
I have,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm not quite sure whether they're all written my blogs. I
yeah.
mean, I wrote them, but I don't know whether
Yeah.
they're all stored.
They're on TLAP's website, certainly. Yeah.
Eh? There you go. Okay,
Um,
I'll perhaps not say that then.
okay. So thank you both. We're going to come to, because time's moving on, we're going to come to Jessica to hear about what she's doing in practice to think about creative uh, use of budgets. So over to Jessica.
Hello. So I am Jess. I currently manage a team in Sheffield, and I've come to this from I've been around a little while and I've seen various iterations of how SDS and direct payments have worked in the past. And the thing that I noticed was from realistically, we've had a lot of changes over the past few years. We've had COVID, we've had a lot of ways of working that people never thought they'd have to do. So the thing that I wanted to really focus on was how do we have a different conversation? I think people that use services and access services, where possible, have a review, and our social care staff will go in and talk to people about, how that support's working and what that looks like. And I think for me, it was really important that we really tried to focus on what people were hoping to achieve and what those goals and outcomes were. So hopefully we'll cover a few bits today and I will try not to make us run over. So next slide, please. So one of the things I personally have found useful and from talking to people at various different events around sort of person-centered planning and personalization was the use of person-centered planning tools. Now, these are not new tools. They are available online. Anyone can find them. But I think they really get to the heart of the sort of conversations that we should be trying to have with people. Next slide, please. And it's underpinning sort of our codes of practice as well. Within the Care Act, it's about enabling people to have that conversation and be as included as possible. Next slide. So for me, I really wanted to draw on things that were already available. We all know that social care has got a very strapped budget. There's not a lot to go around. So how can we use what's there and what's available to help us do the absolute best and support people to be as independent as they want to be and to have the life that they want to live? So we're gonna skip a couple of slides, please. If we could get to what we're doing in Sheffield. So in Sheffield, I kind of looked at why we're not using these things. They're there, they're available, anyone can get them. And the thing that I think we realized is, regardless of them being available, if you don't know where they are, you don't know how to find them, perhaps you're not even aware of their existence, you're not going to go looking for something you don't know about. So we wanted to pull together a really easy to use pack that can be used for staff and for people that use services, and just include some of what I think are the nice tools to try and open up a nice conversation with people. So one-page profiles, I think, are brilliant, especially if you've got support from a provider in place. It just helps to share that really important snapshot of information as easy to access as possible. If we could jump to the next slide, please. Good day, bad day is one of my personal favorites. So how do you set the bar for what a good life looks like if you've not had the conversation to say, what does a good day look like? And then in comparison, what's a bad day? And then what's the difference? How can we make there be more good days than bad days? And I think rather than going in and asking people what support they want or what support they need, this enables you to kind of unpick that, but in a more meaningful way. Next slide. Perfect week. Again, when you're thinking about planning and looking at support, it's really easy to focus on, a lot of people want sort of like day activities and day services. And I think about moving away from that. So it's about, what is the activity that you're wanting to do? What is it that you're wanting to achieve within that? To have a conversation about, is it that you're wanting to go and make friends? Are you wanting to just be out of the house? Do you want some time on your own to relax at home? Go on social media, whatever that looks like for that person. Next slide, please. So the teams that I've previously worked in have predominantly been with a lot of people with learning disabilities. And for those people, sometimes making decisions is a massive part of their support plan, and helping them to understand and helping people around them understand how they can be included to make those decisions. And I don't think that's often captured enough. And I think that the decision-making profile just helps people to really look at what decisions you might need to make on a day-to-day basis, and how you can actually detail that and then help put that into somebody's support plan. So what we've said in Sheffield is you can use these tools to help inform the way that we support plan, and we have the opportunity to attach these documents within our system as well. So everything can be recorded and everything can be kept on that person's support plan as part of the decision making and how we've got there. Next slide, please. So I think using the tools first and foremost to have that conversation is absolutely key. And I think from there, it's about looking at the goals and outcomes. So what is it we're hoping to achieve? What does good look like? What will life look like in a year compared to what it looks like now? Next slide, please. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we're using the sort of SMART way of working, in terms of making sure that goals are achievable and realistic. And I think, like one of the things that Caroline pointed out, is if you know what it is you're trying to work towards, you can take the right steps to get there. But actually, if you're picking services but without a reason as to why, it becomes really difficult to assess whether or not that support's been effective or whether it's been right for that person. So for Caroline, it was being independent, traveling independently in a way that worked for her, and having that trike was the mechanism to achieve that goal. So I think it's really important that we're clear about what goals it is that we're trying to work towards. Next slide, please. So within that, it can be long-term and short-term goals. We've recently worked with a young lady who had pretty much shied away from accessing support, but it was really clear that it would have really benefited her, enabled her to be more independent. But she'd only ever been offered sort of traditional day services and support, and it just isn't what she wanted. So, and I know this is very much direct payments, but in this particular person's case, a direct payment just wasn't appropriate and wasn't possible. So we supported her to look at an ISF, and she's identified wanting to be a DJ and wanting to do some things in the community. And she has now got an ISF in place that's helping her find a support worker that was a DJ previously, and that's all going really well. But we had to have a different conversation to enable us to get there. So it's looking at those goals and enabling us to really focus on those to achieve them. Next slide, please. So this kind of touches on what I was saying, is for me, the important part of creative support planning is the conversation that we have and the things that we try and then support people to work towards. what I don't want people to do is be looking at payment mechanisms before you even know what it is you're trying to achieve. So there's a way to achieve the things that we need to with direct payments, with ISFs, but actually planning for that and getting it right is the starting point and the most important bit. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So there we go. So within Sheffield, we are trying to look at how we have made things different. So we've offered some additional training for people. Staff have all been encouraged to attend outcome-based support planning training, which enables them to understand how to have the conversation about a goal and an outcome and how to record that, and then how you can enable people to be supported to work towards those. One of the other things that we've been really keen on is enabling people to look at their own support networks and look at how they can use the people that are around them and their community to support their needs. And looking at assistive tech as well, you know, we very much live in a world of AI and technology. So it's looking at how we can support people to access those things, and whether that's through a direct payment as well. Sometimes it's just getting the right things in place to enable those people to be as independent as they would like to be. And next slide. So that's kind of a whistle-stop tour of what we're doing in Sheffield, but we are absolutely trying to embed. It's not a new way of working. It's kind of, for me, it's going back to what I think has worked really well in the past, but because of changes with COVID, it's just about getting back to basics and back to what's available and using those to the best of our abilities.
Thank you very much, Jess. Can I just ask you a couple of questions, Jessica?
Always.
Thanks. So, am I right in thinking you kind of decided to do this off your own back?
Yes, that would be the short way of saying that.
Yeah.
So because my team have only existed since October, November last year, so we're just about coming round to our 1 year anniversary, I wanted to make sure that I supported my staff to have as many tools in their toolbox as humanly possible. And I think I've tried to combine my 17 years of experience into the induction plan and the pack and the support that I offer, just to make sure that people have got everything at their fingertips to be able to do it. Luckily, I'm in a service that's very supportive of being creative and doing things differently. So I was enabled to pull the pack together and run with that.
Super, thank you. And I guess one of the other things that struck me when we first talked was because you're right, this is not new. We've got a question Annika's put in the chat. Were individuals with care and support needs involved in developing the templates? Sorry if you mentioned this or joined. I guess though, it's that sort of rediscovery thing. I remember you sort of saying when you were rolling this out to sort of your team and other practitioners that, oh yeah, we used to do this, didn't we? You know, it kind of feels like a forgotten art. Is it me?
Yeah, so I think that's what struck me most is, again, I was around when these tools were used at the early days of SDS. So, you know, I remember the 40-page support plans that were absolutely all singing, all dancing, included all of the information. And these tools were part of that planning back then. And that was maybe 15 years ago that we were doing that. So this is not reinventing the wheel. This is not creating something new. This is absolutely utilizing something that is tried and tested and been around for quite a few years.
Yes, and I think to answer your question, Annika, I mean, I don't know that I'm not brilliant at the history. We've created. Adam's put a link in there. We've just created a PDF with these tools in on TLAP's website. It's something we've done very recently. I think Local App Personal's website. But my understanding, Annika, is that the history is quite long. They came from the USA in the first place, and they definitely were developed with people in the first place. Is my understanding. You can read all about that. We've put some references to people who developed them, so you could look that stuff up on the web on yeah, on Google. Okay, so let's draw in the panel. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences. Oh, and the other thing I should have said, am I right in thinking that so it started with you, but actually there's quite a lot of interest across Sheffield. So well, you did talk about the training that you're doing, but it's kind of
Yeah.
been and there's and am I right in saying there's a sort of a readiness for this in Sheffield. There's a sort of there's lots of other work going on, and you talked about individual service funds. People are asking about individual service funds. They're absolutely not available everywhere. They are a, a way of budgets working, but they're not consistently used across the country. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in Sheffield, over the past few years, we've taken a lot of steps to try and improve our offer. Things like we now have a direct payment support service. So for anybody new or existing, if they are wanting to, they can be referred to our direct payment support service. They can help you recruiting PAs, they can help you put the adverts out. Off the back of me creating this pack, we've done a whole load of training, but we've also rewritten our support planning policy just to help really back up this way of, being more creative, thinking differently, having a different conversation. Just because we recognize that people have got massive amounts of skills and we're not utilizing what people want to contribute as well. So again, it's having the right conversation. I really do think it absolutely boils down to that, full stop.
Thanks, Jessica. Let's draw some other panelists in to the conversation. So I can see we've got some questions. I think the biggest barrier is that professionals don't know how that can be used, how the budget, I assume, can be used. And when it says professionals, social workers in brackets, so anybody doing assessments and care and support planning at what we might say the front line. Is there any legislation or guidance for this, enabling creativity for individuals? My understanding is certainly talked about a lot in the Care Act in terms of we really often get really stuck with examples of specifically how money can be used. And my experience is that varies across the country. I'm going to come to Emma, if that's all right. I'm going to put Emma on the spot. Maybe Ben wants to jump in, but this sense of giving some clear examples of what money can and can't be used for. Is there anything that government's thinking about there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Both on the barriers. So, for example, some social workers maybe not knowing how a direct payment can be used. So, I think first and foremost, a good starting point is always the Care and Support Statutory Guidance. So, that was issued under the Care Act, and it does actively encourage creativity and flexibility in care planning, particularly through the use of direct payments. It does set out that local authorities should support person-centred approaches to meet and obviously assess needs, and shouldn't place unreasonable restrictions on how a direct payment can be used. So really the essence of flexibility. However, obviously a key barrier like's being identified is that professionals, social workers often lack awareness of that flexibility or the confidence in applying that flexibility. So really that's kind of we know this is an issue, so this is why we're working like today with TLAP to reinvigorate direct payments, to kind of share the policy intention of direct payments. And in terms of how it can be spent, the answer, I suppose, depends on a particular person's needs and their local authority. But I think the list for what a direct payment can't be used for, we should probably focus on that because it's much smaller. So direct payments, obviously they have to be used to meet eligible care and support needs, so they can't be used to pay for services like things that are free, like the NHS, or anything that your local authority might already be providing for free, and obviously anything unrelated to the person's care needs. And ultimately, it's the local authority, who has a duty to provide clear guidance and quite crucially support to ensure that anyone who is taking a direct payment or is considering that, they understand those boundaries. So yeah, flexibility and creativity is really key, but over the years we've definitely seen a kind of risk aversion to that. And as I know that's been mentioned a few times today, in terms of that fear of what you can and can't spend a direct payment on.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it depends on the person's needs and the local authority. So if, go ahead, Martin.
Well, I was going to say, just to go on from that point, we've got, and just to guess to underscore that, what you're saying about, I think what Jessica was saying about outcomes and making sure they, how people using the money relates to those outcomes, which I think is what you're saying. Tanisha said, would someone be able to use their direct payment to pay for taxis to access services in the community, such as swimming and gym? And my personal view about that is, it's not a view, it's an observation. It feels like different councils kind of react differently to that thing. And I wondered about, I think you talked about sort of maybe creating some examples in the and updating the guidance with some clear examples and contextualizing. That seems to be the thing is, in this case, we decided, paying for a taxi was okay, but these were sort of, this is why. And
I do.
and Caroline, I was just going to ask you about because you're really good at, and if you don't mind me saying, sort of saying, I'd like, and you just said about the cushion thing, and people have said in the chat, well, why wouldn't that work? That makes a lot of sense. Some folk have said that.
I think
You're
I'm
really
going to
kind of,
ask again.
yeah, you're really good at sort of saying, I want to do this, and this is how it'll help me, and this is this is how it'll help my well-being. Do you want to? What about just describing the motor thing you added to the trike?
Yeah, yeah. I, I've I've ridden a trike since about for about 16 years, but 12 years ago, I I got cancer, breast cancer, and it it became apparent that I mean, I'd still got a child at school and I'd still got a dog and things like that, that that I needed my trike, and also I was having chemotherapy, so we're more prone to blood clots, which I did get a blood clot and my lungs collapsed and all that. But so in order to stop blood clots, I wanted to get back on my trike and cycle, um, and I couldn't because I was too weak because of the chemo. So I asked for um, pedal assist motors to be put on, and
You did
and
some research about that, didn't you?
yeah, I did do some research. I did loads of research, but I did some uh, medical research and provided quotes from various doctors of chemotherapy and oncology, whatever. And but I think I did have a positive outcome in the end because I
Yeah.
purchased one, but I was refused it a few times. In fact, I was refused it, so I ended up buying one. But but yeah, I mean that would have been great if
Yeah. Yeah. So it's being able to sort of clearly, and you do that, you sort of clearly, if I spend money on this, and you do have a personal assistant, but you do really creative things. We've got a
and
question from, oh, go on, sorry, Caroline.
well, so for me, I think, and this is totally off script, really. Um, I think it's the social workers at the coalface that need to be inventive and creative with the people they're working with in order to say,
Well,
I've witnessed your need, and have you thought about this equipment? And
yeah.
I
So
don't know.
just following on from that, Caroline, I've got a question from Jenny. Maybe for Jess this one, if that's okay. And or Jackie, you might have a view, but have council staff become more unwilling to do proper support planning involving the person after indicative budget determination because computer systems automatically put this information into a very limited sort of
Mm.
set of boxes on the computer system? Is that something that, I mean, you're in Jess, but then maybe Jackie, your experience is perhaps some of that.
Yeah, I think again, this is part of the reason for trying to open up the use of the support planning pack. I think it's become the norm to work towards filling in a form rather than that relationship based conversational approach. And I think, again, with the best will in the world, through COVID, where people weren't able to go and have a good conversation face to face, a lot of things were done in ways that I don't think any of us ever expected to have to do. I think it's now we've gone, okay, but that's over and done with now. So how do we move past that, and how do we get back to this really good practice and having a good conversation with people, and just making sure that it's not a case of box filling. You know, inevitably we do have a responsibility to record, in terms of our sorry, I have dyslexia. I don't always have the right words, but essentially putting the right information into our documentation. It doesn't mean you don't still have the conversation. And this is why I'm really grateful that our system has the attachments section. So you can add anything else that you want.
Oh, we lost your sound,
You
Jess.
still then have to go and fill the form in with the words that we need to put in the form.
Oh, it's caught up.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Am I there? So yeah, unfortunately, I think it has become easier for staff to fill in a form. I think one of the things that we noticed as well is just lack of training and lack of support. So this is why we've put on the additional training now as well.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much. Any thoughts, Jackie?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that the staff have got goals they've got to meet and everything else. And I feel that they are just tick boxing. They know if they put a tick in that box, it means yes or no. And I feel that they are afraid to think outside the box. That, I'm going to say I'm a round person, which I am, but and they're trying to squash me into a box, and I don't fit that box. But they are making me, or making Josh, my son, fit into that, and it doesn't work. Because of that, I started a group for young adults with additional needs because there was nothing for them post 25 to do in the evenings. So once a week, we go out, we go to and I mean, this caused, you can't believe how much trouble this caused, but going to the pub. Oh no, they might, no, 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 you're not allowed to do that. They're going to drink too much alcohol. These are all young people and adults over the age of 18.
Yeah.
And we're only there for 2 hours. So, you're talking 2 drinks. And making them have a life outside of the 9 till 5 and experiencing things. One of the things was that one of them said to me, I'm never going to learn to drive. And I said, well, why do you say that? And he said, my mum says I don't concentrate enough. So my eldest son, which was one of the leaders at the time, went looking for a go-karting organisation that would actually take us. I mean, there were more crashes than anything else. I'm not going to say it was brilliant, but the look on their faces that they actually was behind a wheel and drove a yard without crashing. That was brilliant. And I think sometimes we need to give people the space to find their feet to know what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jackie. I think both yourself and Caroline hopefully have responded, maybe Helen, to your question, can we have some ideas on the parameters of creativity? But this seems to be the main thing. And if we can do more at TLAP and working with DHSC, and we had we supported a meeting out in the east of England a couple of weeks ago, and Isaac and Paula from NCAG supported me with that. Watch out for Paula's blog coming out very soon, and she'll talk about the way in which people very much saying similar things. How do we sort of clearly describe what is the legal parameters of what you can get agreed? We're coming to the end of our time, but just to quickly, could a direct payment conceivably be used by an unpaid carer for respite care arrangements for cared for person? If, for example, they had to leave home to work, where I work, the local authority offered generally for funded respite care is limited, so this seems potentially a useful alternative. Any thoughts? Anybody want to go with that one? I've definitely seen the subject of holidays and using money for holidays, inverted comma, is gets very different responses from different local authorities. Jackie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can use it for respite, or some people call it short breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And more recently, because I was hospitalized, I ended up paying, and I know this is a taboo where people say you can't pay family and whatever else. That's another subject as
Yeah.
well. But, you've got to find someone to have and support your loved one.
Yeah.
And if they've got to take time off work, they're losing money.
Mm.
So, yes, I've used it for respite. Yes, I've used it for short breaks. Yes, I've used it to go to work. Um, and I, and again, I think it's individual authorities that
Yeah.
may or may not go with this. I
Yeah.
think once you've got a good case, my argument has always been for my well-being and my mental health, I need to go to work.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? That's the key, is being able to really articulate clearly how spending the money in this way will help improve your well-being or maintain your well-being.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Because if you can't say, if you're just sending that person away because and can't give a reason for it, then there's no way about it. But if for me, I used it in the sense of I need to do these couple of hours a day for my mental health. I hate housework. I am not a typical Afro-Caribbean woman at all. I hate housework. I hate cooking. I hate those sort of things. So anything to get out of the house, I'll do it.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what I do.
yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Jackie. We're getting towards the end of the time. We're going to have to wrap up. There's more questions, but I think we'll try and respond to those when we put the webinar out, if that's okay. So we'll be publishing this in the next few days, the webinar on our website, and we'll try to add answers to questions that we've had. Lots of comments in the chat. Thank you very much for joining us today. Just to say, that webinar series that I talked about earlier, which has driven a lot of the sort of yes buts, is on our website. You've just seen the modules that are available to support practitioners be more confident, build their confidence promoting direct payments. So they're freely available. You could also request them should you need to or want to build them into your own um, uh, learning and develop online learning systems. You can do that. There's a button on the website to just request the videos. And we've got more webinars coming up on those different subjects. Use of resources, yes, but there's nothing to buy where I live, other than employing a personal assistant, risk. That's just the series this year, and then we've got 4 more we're planning in the new year. So,
Martin,
yes, indeed, Adam.
just one extra thing. So I don't know if you've been able to catch it. It's a bit difficult to get in touch when everyone's got so much stuff going on. But we do have a raised hand by Richard, who has access to these and said he couldn't ask a question in the Q&A.
Okay.
Would we be able to ask that one over audio?
Yes.
Okay, let me just, Richard, I'm going to take you off mute 1 second. Okay, Richard.
Hello.
Hi, Richard.
Hi. Yeah, it's just to say, I think for me, just to say, I've got lived experience. I'm the co-production lead for Stockport Council, so I've got a foot in many camps. But one thing for me was, how do we build, I think, everybody's confidence, yeah, around direct payments, but also in terms of social workers having that ability to be creative. I know training packages are important, but I think also maybe peer-to-peer learning and the sharing of stories. So, like,
absolutely,
if there's one thing that I could encourage people to do, particularly in the because people with lived experience share their story a lot.
Yeah.
And there's emotional and psychological labor attached to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes if practitioners can get braver in sharing positive good practice, that'd be great. And then just to say, if anyone wants to contact me regarding our co-production journey, then just drop me a line.
Super. Can you supply your email then, Richard? Are you happy to do that?
Yeah.
Super. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Okay. I think I mentioned a meeting that we supported last week. That's definitely something that group of workers wanted, was peer support to continue to sort of push the boundaries. And we at TLAP are going to support that network. Maybe other networks. Maybe I know there are various networks represented. I see Sam's on the call. There's a national direct payment group. There's various groups. So we certainly at TLAP are happy to hear from you about what practically would support you to build that confidence and help practitioners build that confidence going forward. Hopefully the webinar series will help and take us some way along, but we're looking actively to reinvigorate direct payments and support you to do that work. Thank you very much. Panelists, would you like to just wave and say goodbye? Thank you very much for your contributions, panelists, today. And we'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.